Hello Divination and welcome. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to slide down, reveal your gallery image title and caption with Divi. This is the final result we're aiming to achieve. So without wasting a lot of time, let's dive in and let's get started. All right, so the first thing we need to do is to add images to our media library. So to do that, you want to come over here to media, click on add new. Now you need to search for images on your computer. So I'm in my downloads folder here. So I'm going to select an image, click on open. Okay, so now that my image has been added, what we need to do is to add some captions and title to this image. So let's say you're back here in the library. How you do that is you click on the image like that. And this is where you'd add the title and the caption. So I'm going to paste my caption in here and I'm just going to use lorem ipsum as my title. Like that. So this is what you need to do to all the images that you add into the library. Now, once you're done with that, all you have to do is to save. And you can see on the top here, it says saved. So I'm going to close out of here. So let's say you've added quite a few images to your library and you've added all the captions. So in this case, I've already gone ahead and added all the captions to the images that I like. So the next step now is to create a brand new page. So I'm going to come over here to pages and click on add new. We're going to give this page a name, click on use Divi builder. So let's start by building this from scratch. So I'm going to click on build from scratch. And what I'm going to do here is to first go into my section settings and add a background to this section. So I'm going to paste my color in here. And by the way, if you want to use the exact same colors I'll be using throughout this tutorial, I will leave a link to the post in the show notes below. Next, we're going to hit save and then we're going to add our column structure. So I'm going to click on this plus button and we need 2 equal columns. So I'm going to select this. Next, I am going to just go into my row settings because what I need to do here is to give this a bit of padding. So I'm going to come to design, spacing, and I'm going to give this a top margin of 5%. And I'm going to do the same to the bottom as well. I'm going to save. Next, I'm going to add a text module. So I'm going to search for it and select. I'm going to highlight all this text, add my dummy text in here. But instead of just having it as a paragraph text, I'm going to set this to, let's say heading 2. Now let's go and customize this heading text. So I'm going to come over here to design, heading text, choose heading 2. And our font here is going to be Montserrat. So I'm going to search for it and select it. Now we need to go to the text size. We're going to set this to 62. But while we're here, we might as well adjust this for our mobile devices. So for tablets, I'm going to set this to 48. And then for my phones, I'm going to set this to 32. Okay, so let's take a quick look. Yeah, that's looking good. And for our line height, in fact, let's go back to our desktop here. For our line height, I'm going to set this to 1.3. Next, let's do some adjustments here on the maximum width. So to do that, I am going to go to sizing. So maximum width here, we're going to set this to 500 pixels. And while we're here, we might as well make some adjustments to our tablets and phone views. So for my tablet, in fact, I need to be on this one here. So for our tablet, we're going to set this to 400 pixels. And for my mobile phones, I'm going to set this to 250. All right, great. So now that all this is set, the next step is to add a divider to column 1. So I'm going to save, click on this plus button, search for my divider and select it. Making sure show divider is set to yes. Let's go on to design, choose line, and we need to add our line color. So I'm going to click here on this eyedropper tool and paste my color like that. Now we're going to come to sizing and we're going to set our divider weight. So this is going to be 5 pixels. Maximum width is going to be 100 pixels. And let's add a height of 5 pixels as well. So pretty much that's all we need to do for now. I'm going to save this. And over here on column 2, we also need to add a text module. So I'm going to select and search. Then I'm going to replace this text here with my dummy text. Now let's go to design, text. So we're going to change our default font here to Lato. So I'm going to search for Lato and select it. And for our text line height, we're going to set this to 2.2. And then next, we're going to apply a bit of margin, and we're going to set this to 50 pixels. And then we're going to save. Okay, so that's going to be our first section. So now let's work on our second section. Okay, so to do that, we need to click on this plus button here to add our section. And we're going to click on regular. So before we add our columns, let's add a gradient to our section background. So I'm going to click on section settings, click on background. And to add a gradient, you need to click on the second tab. Click on this plus button. And let's start by going to add our first color. So I'm going to click on this eyedropper tool and paste the value of my color in here. Now, if you'd like to use the same colors as I'm using throughout this tutorial, I will leave a link to the post in the show notes below. All right, so let's add our second color here. So I've clicked here on the second color. I'm going to paste it. Next, I'm going to make sure I set my start position to 20%. And I'm also going to set my end position to 20% as well. Our gradient here is fine as linear. Now let's head over here to design, spacing, because we need to set our top and bottom padding to 0 pixels. And this needs to be applied to both sides. Now it's time to save. And we're going to add our row by clicking on this plus button. We need a single column, so I'm going to select this one here. Now let's add our background color to that row. So I'm just going to close this here because we're not adding our module yet. So I'm going to click on my row settings. And then we're going to come over here to background, click on this plus button and paste our color in here. Okay, so far so good. We've added our color in here. Now let's head over to design, click on sizing. Now what we need to do here is we need to set our gutter width. Our gutter width is the distance between the columns. So we're going to set this to 2. Next, we're going to set our width. So for our width here, it's by default at 90%. Let's set this to 90%. Now let's take a look at our maximum width, and we'd like to add a custom maximum width here. And this is going to be 1580 pixels. Next, let's head over here to spacing. So what we're going to do here in spacing, we're going to add a top padding of 150 pixels. And for the bottom, we're going to set this to 0. And for the left and right padding, we are going to use percentage, and it's going to be 5%. I'm going to close out of here. So the next step now is to add our gallery module. So let's click here on this plus button to add our module. And I'm going to search for gallery. And here it is. So by default, we have all these images here. So that's not how we're going to be using this gallery module. We need to add our own images. So I'm going to click here on this plus button, and this is going to open my media library. So this is where we need to start adding our images. So I'm going to start adding my images by just selecting them like this. And once I'm happy with my selection, I'm going to say select. So the next thing we need to do is to come over here to elements. And here you want to make sure that show title and caption is set to yes. And pagination, let's say no to that because we're only showing those 4 images. But what we're going to do here is we don't want to show the title and caption on mobile devices. So let's go in and just set this on the tablet to no, and also on the phone to no. So we only want to show this on the desktop. All right, so now that we have this, let's go to our layout. So I'm going to come over here to design, click on layout, and the layout we're looking for here is grid mode. So make sure you've selected grid, and for our thumbnail orientation, let's change this to portrait. So you can see now this looks different. Next, let's head over here to overlay, because right now when we hover over here, we can see that our icon color here is this blue. So we can change it by coming over here. So let's change our icon overlay color to white. And then our overlay background color, we are going to make this transparent. So I'm just going to drag this slider down a little bit just to show my transparency. And then I can just test and see what this looks like over here. So I think I'm going to go with this. So the next step now is to go to our text settings. So I'm just going to come over here to text. And right now it's set to dark. So let's change this to light. So now we're going to start with the text heading. So I'm going to come over here And as you can see, this is our heading 3. So let's change this to Montserrat. So I'm going to search for my font here. I'm going to select it. And the size is going to be 20. So I'm just going to nudge this to 20. Now you may not see what's happening here. We are going to be adding a background to this, but you need to set this to 20. Now let's work on the caption colors. So I'm going to hover over here and select my text here. And this is going to be Lato. So I'm going to set this to Lato. And then I'm also going to set my size here. In fact, I need to set my color. I'm going to click over here and paste my color. As I mentioned before, if you want to use the exact same colors as I'm using, I will leave a link to the post in the show notes below, which has all these colors. Okay, so let's go to letter spacing. So here I'm going to set this to 0.5. And for my line height, I'm going to go with 1.9 EM. So I'm going to paste it in here as well. Now we're also going to be adding some CSS to this. So what I'm going to do now is to head over to my advanced tab. We're going to come to custom CSS and we're going to scroll all the way down to gallery item title. And here it is. I want to paste my CSS. And like I said, I'll leave a link to the post in the show notes below, which has all this CSS code. Now let's add our gallery caption CSS. And here it is. I'm going to paste my gallery caption CSS in here. Now it's time to apply the reveal effect. So what we're going to do is we're going to add our CSS ID. So while I'm here, I'm going to scroll all the way up, go to CSS ID and classes, and I'm going to choose CSS ID and paste this. We're going to save. And the next step now is to add our code module just below this. I'm going to click on this plus button, select my code module, and we're going to paste some code in here. So first of all, we need to add our style tags like that. And I'm going to paste my CSS code in here. So pretty much that's all you need to do. Now let's save this. We're going to save this page one more time and exit the Visual Builder. Okay, so now let's test this out. And you can see when I hover over it, it is also showing our caption, which is pretty cool. Go ahead, try it out and see how it works for you. So there you have it. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and do follow us on our social media platforms. By doing so, you'll be notified every time we release new tutorials. Until next time, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.